In order to prolong life and at the same time to enjoy it, occupation of some kind is absolutely necessary. It is a great mistake to suppose that idleness is conducive to longevity. It is at all times better to wear out than to rust out, and the latter process is apt to be speedily accomplished. Every one must have met with individuals who, while fully occupied till 60 or even 70 years of age, remained hale and strong, but aged with marvelous rapidity after relinquishing work, a change in their mental condition becoming especially prominent. There is an obvious lesson to be learned from such instances, but certain qualifications are necessary in order to apply it properly. With regard to mental activity, there is abundant evidence that the more the intellectual faculties are exercised, the greater the probability of their lasting. They often become stronger after the vital force has passed its culminating point, and this retention of mental power is the true compensation for the decline in bodily strength. Did space permit, many illustrations could be adduced to show that the power of the mind can be preserved almost unimpaired to the most advanced age. Even memory, the failure of which is sometimes regarded as a necessary concomitant of old age, is not infrequently preserved almost up to the end of life. All persons of middle age should take special pains to keep the faculties and energies of the mind in a vigorous condition. They should not simply drift on in a haphazard fashion, but should seek and find pleasure in the attainment of definite objects. Even if the mind has not been especially cultivated or received any decided bent, there is at the present day no lack of subjects on which it can be agreeably and profitably exercised. Many sciences which 20 or 30 years ago were accessible only to the few, and wore at best a somewhat uninviting garb, have been rendered not merely intelligible, but even attractive to the many. And in the domain of general literature, the difficulty of making a choice among the host of allurements is the only ground for complaint. To increase the taste for these and kindred subjects is worth a considerable effort, if such be necessary, but the appetite will generally come with the eating. The possession of some reasonable hobby which can be cultivated indoors is a great advantage in old age, and there are many pursuits of this character besides those connected with literature and science. Talleyrand laid great stress on his knowledge of whist as indispensable to a happy old age, and doubtless to many old people that particular game affords not only recreation, but a pleasant exercise to the mind. It is, however, an unworthy substitute for higher objects, and should be regarded only as an amusement and not as an occupation. Whatever be the sphere of mental activity, no kind of strain must be put upon the mind by a person who has reached 65 or 70 years. The feeling that mental power is less than it once was not infrequently stimulates a man to increased exertions, which may provoke structural changes in the brain, and will certainly accelerate the progress of any that may exist in that organ. When a man finds that a great effort is required to accomplish any mental task that was once easy, he should desist from the attempt and regulate his work according to his power. With this limitation, it may be taken for granted that the mental faculties will be far better preserved by their exercise than by their disuse. Somewhat different advice must be given with regard to bodily exercises in the reference to longevity. Exercise is essential to the preservation of health. Inactivity is a potent cause of wasting and degeneration. The vigor and equality of the circulation, the functions of the skin, and the aeration of the blood are all promoted by muscular activity, which thus keeps up a proper balance and relation between the important organs of the body. In youth, the vigor of the system is often so great that if one organ be sluggish, another part will make amends for the deficiency by acting vicariously, and without any consequent damage to itself. In old age, the tasks cannot be thus shifted from one organ to another. The work allotted to each sufficiently taxes its strength, and vicarious action cannot be performed without mischief. Hence the importance of maintaining, as far as possible, the equable action of all the bodily organs, so that the share of the vital processes assigned to each shall be properly accomplished. For this reason, exercise is an important part of the conduct of life in old age, but discretion is absolutely necessary. An old man should discover by experience how much exercise he can take without exhausting his powers, and should be careful never to exceed the limit. Old persons are apt to forget that their staying powers are much less than they once were, and that, while a walk of 2 or 3 miles may prove easy and pleasurable, the addition of a return journey of similar length will seriously overtax the strength. Above all things, sudden and rapid exertion should be scrupulously avoided by persons of advanced age. The machine, which might go on working for years at a gentle pace, often breaks down altogether when its movements are suddenly accelerated. These cautions may appear superfluous, but instances in which their disregard is followed by very serious consequences are by no means infrequent. No fixed rule can be laid down as to the kind of exercise most suitable for advanced age. Much must depend upon individual circumstances and peculiarities, but walking in the open air should always be kept up and practiced daily, except in unfavorable weather. Walking is a natural form of exercise and subserves many important purposes. Not a few old people owe the maintenance of their health and vigor to their daily constitutional. Riding is an excellent form of exercise, but available only by a few. The habit, if acquired in early life, should be kept up as long as possible, subject to the caution already given as to violent exercise. Old persons of both sexes, fond of gardening, and so situated that they may gratify their tastes, are much to be envied. Body and mind are alike exercised by what Lord Bacon justly termed the purest of human pleasures. Dr. Parkes goes so far as to say that light garden or agricultural work is a very good exercise for men past 70. Quote, "It calls into play the muscles of the abdomen and back, which in old men are often but little used, and the work is so varied that no muscle is kept long in action." End quote. A few remarks must be made in conclusion with regard to a new form of exercise sometimes indulged in even by elderly men. I allude to so-called tricycling. Exhilarating and pleasant as it may be to glide over the ground with comparatively little effort, the exercise is fraught with danger for men who have passed the grand climacteric. The temptation to make a spurt must be often irresistible. Hills must be encountered, some perhaps so smooth and gradual as to require no special exertion, none at least that is noticed in the triumph of surmounting them. Now, if the heart and lungs be perfectly sound, such exercises may be practiced for some time with apparent impunity. But if, as is very likely to be the case, these organs be not quite structurally perfect, even the slightest changes will, under such excitement, rapidly progress and lead to very serious results. Exercise unsuited to the state of the system will assuredly not tend to the prolongation of life. With regard to food, we find from Dr. Humphrey's report that 90% of the aged persons were either moderate or small eaters, and such moderation is quite in accord with the teachings of physiology. In old age, the changes in the bodily tissues gradually become less and less active, and less food is required to make up for the daily waste. The appetite and the power of digestion are correspondingly diminished. And although for the attainment of a great age a considerable amount of digestive power is absolutely necessary, its perfection, when exercised upon proper articles of diet, is the most important characteristic. Indulgence in the pleasures of the table is one of the common errors of advanced life, and is not infrequent in persons who, up to that period, were moderate or even small eaters. Luxuries in the way of food are apt to be regarded as rewards that have been fully earned by a life of labor, and may therefore be lawfully enjoyed. Hence arise many of the evils and troubles of old age, and notably indigestion and gouty symptoms in various forms, besides mental discomfort. No hard and fast rules can be laid down, but strict moderation should be the guiding maxim. The diet suitable for most aged persons is that which contains much nutritive material in a small bulk, and its quantity should be in proportion to the appetite and power of digestion. Animal food, well cooked, should be taken sparingly and not more often than twice a day, except under special circumstances. Dr. Parkes advocates rice, as a partial substitute for meat when the latter is found to disagree with old persons. Quote, "Its starch grains are very digestible, and it supplies nitrogen in moderate amount, well fitted to the worn and slowly repaired tissues of the aged." End quote. Its bulk, however, is sometimes a disadvantage. In small quantities, it is a valuable addition to milk and to stewed fruits. The amount of food taken should be divided between 3 and 4 meals at fairly regular intervals. A sense of fullness or oppression after eating ought not to be disregarded. It indicates that the food taken has been either too abundant or of